Hey everybody, I'm here today to talk about 90% silver. I'm in a few groups on Facebook, and some people seem to really like 90%. Some people seem to not be big fans of it. So I'm just kind of going to share why it's really my go-to and really my favorite thing to get. Well, for one thing, some people talk about there being a big premium on 90%. Now, that wasn't always the case. Right now it is, but you have to keep in mind premiums have been high in a lot of silver as of late. I don't know if there's going to be a time when the 90% premiums come down. I think it's possible. Will it come down to the point where you can buy it for scrap value? I think those days are far behind us. But with that said, I find that the premiums, at least at my local shop, are well below if you were to buy some, 1 ounce sovereign coins like Canadian Maple Leaf, American Silver Eagle, Britannias. So that's one good thing. I think it's a little cheaper. Second of all, these are historical coins, and they are basically pretty recognizable if you needed to either sell them, trade them, barter. People know what this stuff is. Even if they're not numismatists, they basically are pretty familiar with it. The other thing I like is that if you had to trade them for some reason, uh, they're kind of a known quantity. Now, you have some pretty worn coins in front of you, so they're going to have a little bit less silver content than when they were first minted. With that said, dimes have roughly 0.07 ounces of silver in them, so that would be about, let's say, 14 per dollar. Quarters, 0.18 ounces roughly, so you're talking about maybe 6 per dollar. Excuse me, per ounce. I'm sorry, per ounce. Halves, a little over 0.36 ounces each, and with the Morgan Peace dollars, 0.77 ounces per coin. Now, I'm kind of reluctant to include those in the 90% category because even if you get a cull that's really, really worn, it's still going to be substantially over. I think the cheapest I've seen Morgan dollars, cull Morgan dollars, lately is about $26, and you figure they're only about maybe $18, I believe, scrap if my math is correct, and even with the scrap value at 18, they're selling for 26, and like I said, that's pretty good. I've actually seen them more frequently around 29 or 30. So I would kind of hold those aside. Those are getting more into people who collect coins. Personally, I'm someone who's in the middle. I know some people only care about silver content, some people only care about the numismatic value. I'm kind of in between, and I kind of move closer to one side and closer to the other, to be honest with you. The other thing I like about these is even if premiums on bullion coins and numismatic coins are about the same, I feel like these have more of a market because even if you have a common date, say Mercury Dime or Walking Liberty, there are people out there who are going to want them because maybe they want a particular date. A lot of people complete sets like in Whitman or Harris albums, and they might be willing to pay $1 or $2 or $3 more for some of those dates. The other thing is sometimes you can buy a whole bulk of coins and get a pretty decent date. One time I bought a whole lot of Barber dimes, and the guy was selling maybe 30 or 40 dimes, and I think I ended up paying him about at the time like maybe 250 per dime, which was a little over scrap. I think the scrap value at the time might have been like $2 or $1.90. So I paid him about 250 because the Barbers go for a little more than the Mercuries typically, and Mercuries go for typically more than Roosevelt. Well, guess what? One of the Barber dimes in that set was kind of a beat up little Barber dime, and I ended up selling it for $90 on eBay. Not bad. So you never know what you might find in some of these like bags and lots and whatnot. The other thing is if you look at the mintages of some of these coins, the mintages are pretty low. Now, let's take Mercury Dimes, for example, and even the Walking Liberties. Actually, let's take a look at the Walking Liberties. They actually had pretty low mintages as well as the Standing Liberty quarters. They got a little bit higher at the end, especially with the Walking Liberties, but there really weren't that many of them. And from what I hear, there was melting going on in the 60s and 70s, and especially in the late 70s and early 80s when silver hit about $50 an ounce. And that was in 1980s dollars, not what it is now. I actually don't know what the price would be if you figure for inflation, but it's substantially more than 50. So there was a lot of melting. And from what I understand, there was a lot of melting around 2011 when these coins, when, so let's see, silver hit like 49.80 an ounce. So a lot of melting then. And a lot of times you'll see people just take the beat up coins to the refiner. Well, if that keeps happening and you have a coin that might have only had, let's say, 6 million made or 5 million made, and then a lot of them get melted, and then over the years some might get lost and whatnot, and then as you could tell with some of these coins, because of the way they're designed, the dates are prone to rubbing off. So you don't know what that coin is. Like you might have a mercury dime that's a 1916D mercury dime, but you can't see the mint mark, or maybe you can't see the year either because it's so worn. So while that 1916D is technically still surviving, it's kind of not in a way because you can't tell what it is. So that would make the remaining 16Ds a little bit more valuable because that one's kind of out of the market loop. Now that's kind of a crazy example because the 16Ds only had a little about 200,000 done, but I mean you can see how that would also hold for other years, maybe semi-key dates, and gradually even make some of the more common ones a little more valuable. So, like I said, I am definitely a big fan of these. If you do buy silver, I think this is the way to go. And like I always tell people, I said, if you're thinking of getting into silver, this is the way to go because you can get a Mercury dime or a Roosevelt dime sometimes for under $2 if you buy them at your local coin shop. Personally, the way my coin shop does it is to me is great because he'll just have a container full of dimes and I'll go through the dimes and he charges me by the gram. Last time I went in there, he charged me 72 cents per gram, so a 2.5 gram dime would end up costing me, let's see, 144, 30, $1.80. But that's if it's pretty good condition and hasn't had any silver loss. It probably cost me a few cents less if there was some loss on them. So I'm getting them sometimes for like maybe $1.75, $1.70. And don't forget, some of these dimes you can probably get for $1.75 and maybe sell for $4 or $5 or $6 on eBay, depending on the year, of course. So it's really like a pretty good play where you get the silver content and you get the some limited numismatic value. And to be quite honest, they're going to become more rare as time goes by. And I also think you're going to get more people who fully appreciate them. So just a little something for you to keep in mind. Really, especially for those of you who are prepping types and you like to barter, it's really hard to beat the dimes. And especially, I've said before, my favorite are the Mercuries because whereas with the Roosevelt dimes, you have to kind of go look at the dates because let's face it, the 1960 Roosevelts look pretty much like the 2000 Roosevelts. The Mercuries, you can tell right off the bat what it is. They might have a slight premium on the Roosevelts, but sometimes you can get them for the same price. To me, it's really tough to beat the Mercury. That's really my favorite go-to coin for stacking a lot of silver. And I just love the design. I love the history, and I like the fact that, like I said, you'll get few of them as time goes on, just from melting and dates wearing off and whatnot. Okay, I will talk to you later. If you like this video, I would appreciate a thumbs up. See ya.